We need to embrace awe and wonder. And that doesn't mean that we stick our head in the sand. But what it means is finding the right motivation for our actions. Because in this world right now, there's two primary drivers of action. There's fear, and there's awe and wonder. But only awe and wonder inspires long-term action. Only awe and wonder inspires people to make sacrifice for a greater cause. Only awe and wonder motivates us to work together, to collaborate. And so we need to build this boat on a foundation of awe and wonder, because then we build that boat on a foundation of trust. And so let's all immerse ourselves for the moment in awe and wonder. And so I want you to use your imaginations. I want you to imagine that you are on board the International Space Station, and you're floating in the windowed cupola, which is on the bottom of the space station, and you're watching the Earth pass by silently at 8 kilometers per second. And as you look out, you see thunderstorms casting long shadows across the horizon as you approach one of our 16 daily orbital sunsets. And as you close in on that line below you that separates day from night, you look out at the clouds and you watch them turn to pink, and then to red, and then gray, and finally black. And as you cross into the nighttime shadow of the Earth, you gasp as all the lights of the cities and towns, all the evidence of human activity all of a sudden comes to life. You see the planet from the vantage point of space. I believe that you would just marvel at the incredible thinness of our planet's atmosphere. And you would be hit not only by the sobering realization that that paper-thin layer is keeping every living thing, and the unfortunate realities of life on our planet for a significant number of its inhabitants. But I also think seeing the planet from space would fill you with hope. Seeing what we can accomplish when we set aside our differences, as evidenced by the International Space Station itself, would extend your optimism. Your definition of the word home would rapidly expand to encompass the entire Earth, and for the first time, you might fully understand what it means to be part of one human family. Now, obviously, you don't have to go to space to realize any of this, but traveling to space can be the first step towards a deeper understanding of the beauty of our underlying interdependent fabric of life. Separation from the natural world enables us to become a detached witness to its splendor, its beauty, and its unity. And from space, a lot of things become clear. From space, it's clear that everything is changing. And it's not just happening in one industry or nation or region, it's happening all around the world, and it's affecting all sectors of society. As a result, the mindsets, the approaches that led us here, that led us to this moment in history, are rapidly becoming ineffective and antiquated. So we need a new map, we need a new guidepost, and that's what this is all about at the Global Social Business Summit. This is the new map, this is the new guidepost. Now, the changes we've seen are partially due to positive things, like revolutionary new technological advancements, new powerful ways to reach consumers and customers, an explosion of collaborative tools, some powered by blockchain and other distributed technologies, also AI, autonomous vehicles, 3D printing, new materials tied to the Internet of Things, and many, many other positive trends that together are completely rewriting the fundamentals of business and rewriting the fundamentals of our society. But the changes are also due to the disruption and the uncertainty that is all around us. We are living through very uncertain times, and there's many factors affecting our social business operations, everything from the war in Ukraine to the pandemic to political divisions and gridlock to the ongoing refugee crisis. Now, we can see all these things, and we can allow them to cause us to shrink. But rather than being overcome by the fear of disruption, by the fear of uncertainty, we can learn to deal with this disruption with success. Now, the way to see the path forward is to take a holistic approach and to strive to see how everything fits together and to realize that we can lead towards a more inclusive, socially just, and stable world while protecting the environment and moving our business operations forward. These are not mutually exclusive, they're complementary. In fact, they're more than complementary. We can take a socially just and an environmentally friendly business approach while creating new products and services, creating new jobs, and do all this in a financially sustainable way. And as critical and daunting as all these changes and all this uncertainty is, it's just the tip of the iceberg. We are entering into a new human era where everything will change, especially how we solve the problems of our world and how we conduct business. And the way to see the path forward is to look for ways to collaborate, and look for collaboration that leads to shared strength. So the focus of this discussion and the way to see path forward is to zoom out to a higher vantage point where all the pieces of the puzzle come into view. We see who has them and what picture they paint for our businesses and our social businesses. And over the course of my career, I've had the opportunity to have some amazing experiences. And these experiences have given me a very unique, big picture perspective of our world. And so when we put all these changes we've seen in a big picture perspective, when we put them into an orbital perspective, certain trends, truths, and the path forward becomes clear. Now, I launched into space with the belief that we already, right now, have all the technology, all the resources necessary to solve many, if not all, the problems facing our planet. And so I spend a good deal of my time in space pondering the question, if this is true, why do they still remain? And the seeds to the answer to that question were planted on my first space mission. On the third spacewalk of that mission, my feet were clamped to the end of the space station's robotic arm. And with me attached to the arm, it was flown through a maneuver that we called the windshield wiper, which took me across a large arc across the top of the space station and back. At the top of this arc, I was about 30 meters above the space station, looking down at this incredible complex against the backdrop of our indescribably beautiful planet 400 kilometers below. The sheer beauty of that scene took my breath away. But more compelling than the beauty of that scene was the incredible human accomplishment that the International Space Station represents. You have to realize that 15 nations built the International Space Station. Some of these nations weren't always the best of friends. Some were on opposite sides of the Cold War, opposite sides of the space race. Some fought wars against each other. But somehow they found a way to set aside their differences, set aside fear, and do this incredible thing together in space. And as I hovered there above the space station, taking in this scene, I thought about, what would the world look like? How many fewer problems and challenges would we face if we could figure out how to have that same level of cooperation, that same level of collaboration, and bring it down to the Earth's surface? Now, this level of cooperation, this new level of cooperation that we'll need to solve these problems is going to need to involve all sectors of society. So how can business help usher in this new, positive, restorative future? They can do that by creating the reality where all businesses, not just social business, but all businesses, exist first and foremost to serve the needs of society. Where businesses are not seen as independent entities operating in a solely self-serving vacuum, but as interdependent nodes in a fabric of prosperity where everyone has the ability to live a good life in harmony with each other and our biosphere. We do that by creating the reality where political and business leaders take a long-term, multi-generational view of investment and progress, where self-centered egoic consciousness is replaced by a planetary consciousness, which, in the words of the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., embraced the basic fact of the interrelated structure of all reality. And so to bring this to a close, I want to share a story with you that I've shared at every Global Social Business Summit that I've been at since 2011. And I want to share it because it so powerfully illustrates what we need to do. And that story is about when I returned to Earth. When my 6-month mission was over, my crewmates and I got into our spacecraft. We had this fiery, violent ride through the atmosphere at 5 miles a second. Well, let me jump ahead. Fiery, violent ride through the atmosphere at 5 miles a second. The parachutes opened. We were thrown all over the place. Eventually, the capsule smashed into the ground. And we hit so hard that we bounced and we rolled and we flipped over. And now my window is pointed down at the ground. And out of my window, I saw a rock, a flower, and a blade of grass. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm home. And what was really interesting about that thought is I was home, but I was in Kazakhstan. And so to me at that moment, home wasn't just Houston, Texas, where at the time my family was waiting for me to return. Home was Earth. And our definition of that word home has powerful implications for how we problem solve, how we treat each other, how we treat our planet. And broadening our definition of the word home to encompass the entire planet doesn't come with a requirement to forget where we came from, our national, our cultural, our religious, our ethnic affiliations. It simply means seeing those things in the context of the bigger picture. And so in the context of the bigger picture, I want to thank each and every one of you for what you are doing and what you will do to help make life on our planet as beautiful as our planet looks from space. You don't have to be in orbit to have the orbital perspective, and by working together, we do not have to accept the status quo on the planet. We can get on the right side of this transition point, of this inflection point. So with that, I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron, and welcome home. What a beautiful story, huh? What's magic, you know? Who was dreaming to be an astronaut when he was a young girl or a young boy? Who was dreaming to be an astronaut? We all can do magic stuff. You know, that brings me to the next chapter on stage. In 2009, we celebrated in Berlin the 20 years anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. Professor Yunus was invited as a special guest. Merkel, Clinton, everyone was there. You know, we celebrated this fall of the Berlin Wall. And there was a Peace Nobel Prize summit. And on this summit, I meet the first time Enzo. And Enzo, his full correct name is Vincenzo Caruso. What a beautiful name. You know, you Italians have a real good way how to name yourself. And Vincenzo, Enzo, is now a diplomat from the FOR. But Enzo, what you did as well, you opened us the door to a very special and very unique institution on the planet. I'm born in Bavaria, Lower Bavaria. My mother had the pub next to the Catholic Church. So we all raised up how to help people having the simplicity of Christian belief in us. We love for each other. And you brought us, and Professor Yunus, into the Vatican. You navigate us into many people in Rome, and you brought us also, then we have a unique experience in Assisi, probably one of the most beautiful places on earth. If you talk about religion place, it's Assisi. You brought us to Assisi, and you introduced us to Enzo Fortunato, the Padre. And now I welcome you both on stage, and share your views about the economic of Francesco, and we are very happy that you're both here. Thanks a lot, then you are our friends. Thank you.
Allora, pace e bene a tutti voi,
Peace and goodwill for all of you.
Ron, io preferivo stare su quelle immagini che abbiamo visto prima, però ci hai detto una cosa bellissima.
Sorry, it's
Finally
so hard.
to house.
It's so hard. It's so hard to translate, Father Enzo. Ron, I would like to stay with you on the sky and but
Finally to house. Hai chiamato questa terra casa.
But finally, you said this planet is home. You called home.
E questo mi permette di dire una cosa straordinaria. Francesco d'Assisi
Let me say an extraordinary thing of Saint Francis of Assisi.
chiamava la terra sorella e madre.
Usually he called our planet sister and mother.
Tutte le altre cose invece semplicemente sorella o fratello.
And usually he called all of the other things sisters or brothers. But in the case of Earth, he called mother and sister.
Sister. No? E sorella e madre significa che chi ha un doppio senso di responsabilità, un doppio senso di appartenenza,
So there is a double sense of responsibility.
doppio senso di
There
appartenenza,
is appartenenza, I don't know if
parentela.
belonging, yes.
Belonging.
There is a double sense of belonging
No?
and responsibility. Thank you. Thank you
Sì.
so much.
Chi ha questo doppio senso di appartenenza è capace di fare e di vivere e di realizzare grandi sogni come te, fratello Yunus.
Is able to realize great dreams as you, brother Yunus.
C'è chi questi sogni desidera spegnerli perché vuole un mondo in guerra, un mondo in combattimento, un mondo abitato dall'odio.
There is someone that wants to switch off those dreams because they prefer a world full of hate, full of anger.
Sapete, abbiamo vissuto un grande passaggio in questi anni, dalle 5 grandi aziende del mondo come ExxonMobil, General Electric, Microsoft, Citigroup o Bank of
Citigroup and Bank of America.
che sono petrolio, manifattura e finanza.
That means oil, manufacture and finance.
Siamo passati ad altre 5 grandi realtà che governano il mondo.
And we moved to other 5 reality that govern this planet.
E sono Apple, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook.
We moved to Apple, Google, Microsoft, Amazon and Facebook.
Praticamente la tecnologia informatica.
Practically, we lived in a technological world.
Ora ci dobbiamo dire una cosa scomoda. Siamo tutti letteralmente schedati.
I would like to say a very important and sad thing. All of us, we are detected.
Non lo dico io, lo dice l'amministratore delegato di Google, Eric Schmidt.
This is not my thesis, but it's Eric Schmidt, is the Google CEO that can say that.
Sentite bene cosa scrive e cosa dice.
Listen what he said.
Immaginate di camminare per strada
Imagine to walk on the street
con le informazioni che abbiamo raccolto su di te.
with all of the information that we took from you.
Google sa bene chi
Google
siete.
knows very well who you are,
Chi siete? Che cosa vi interessa?
what are your interests,
Quali sono i vostri amici?
what are your friends,
Quali sono i vostri gusti?
what are your desire,
Quali sono le vostre opinioni?
what are your opinions,
E ciò di cui avete
and
bisogno.
what you need.
Queste persone non ci propongono il tuo sogno, Yunus.
Those people cannot propose your dream, Professor Yunus,
O il sogno di 2 tuoi grandi alleati.
or the dream of your biggest allied.
Sapete chi sono gli alleati di Yunus?
You know who are Yunus allied, the best allied of Professor Yunus?
Sapete chi sono? Domando a voi.
You know? You know who are?
Saint Francis of Assisi e Papa Francesco.
Papa Francesco and St. Francis.
O
I
Brother
can-
Francis, per chi non crede.
Yeah.
Queste persone che ci hanno schedato non vogliono i 3-0, zero
Those
disoccupazione, zero povertà, zero emissioni.
Those people cannot follow. They don't want zero carbon emission, zero unemployment.
Oppure il sogno di Oliviero del Serming, al quale mi lega una profonda amicizia, e cioè trasformare l'aggressività in amore.
Or the Oliviero's dreams that he wished to transform the hunger, the hate in pure love.
Allora io consegno a me 2 risposte
So I want to give to
che
myself
condivido con voi.
2 answers that I want to share with you.
La prima,
First,
abbiamo bisogno di recuperare il tempo che viviamo, come stiamo facendo ora.
we need to rediscover the time that we are living, like that we are doing now.
E non essere vittime o soggiogati della fretta.
And not be victims of speed.
Sapete, la fretta, questa parola che segna le nostre agende, le nostre giornate, le nostre relazioni, da dove deriva?
You know that the word speed that is signing every moment of our daily life, what are the etymology of this word speed, you know?
Io penso che non lo sapete.
I don't think that you know that speed,
Non lo sapevo nemmeno io,
me too, I never knows before,
Deriva dal latino
is from Latin.
da frictare, che significa fregare.
Is from the Latin frictare, that means cheating.
Fregare, cioè la fretta ci frega i sogni, ci frega le relazioni, ci frega il futuro.
So speed cheat our dreams, cheat our relation, cheat our future.
E allora la prima risposta è: appropriamoci del nostro tempo.
So the first answer, we want to have our own time. Let's have our own time.
Il tempo vissuto bene è
Answer.
Abbiamo bisogno, è stato detto prima negli interventi precedenti, sia da Yunus che dalla relazione che abbiamo ascoltato sul lavoro che fa Yunus in Bangladesh e nel mondo. Abbiamo bisogno, e ce lo ricorda anche Papa Francesco, di toccare la vita. Vai.
Second, we need to touch our life. As Yunus and other speakers highlighted before, we need to touch first our life.
Oggi il vero lusso non sono i soldi, ma è la capacità di gustare la vita vera. Io vi auguro questo, Yunus, continua così.
The goodwill is to live the better life, not to live with money. Live the better life. And this is the will of Yunus. That please, Professor Yunus, continue with this.
Grazie.
Thank you so much.
E grazie anche a Enzo,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, you know, to believe or not to believe, it's all our choice. But to live in the smile of Pater Enzo is very easy, and you see how he follows his heart. So And let me, before I give the microphone over to Maria, make it very clear. As long we have the speculative power in our economic system, as long we follow speculation, this is where we have no way out of our mess. That's what Professor Yunus teach me. The system of this big organization may be right, but the fuel, how they are driven, is totally wrong. So redesign the fuel of the system like Patagonia did. What's a big step from Patagonia? One single shareholder, our Mother Earth for everything. Building up a billion company and at the end of his life say, that's all now for the urgency. So the speculative spirit, take it out of our economic system. That will help us. And people like me in my age should learn to give the power to the women in the next generation. Maria, it's your turn.
We are approaching our Tech for Good moment, and Tech for Good cannot wait, and we are like running. I had the role of a navigator to introduce some personalities from Italy, from Turin, and we invited, unfortunately, one of the two personalities I wanted to invite over, Professor Mario Calderini, could not be here because of COVID. We had the first cancellations this morning because of COVID, unfortunately. He wanted to explain more Torino social impact, but you can find more information on the tables here, and you can find the people of Torino social impact also at the summit. But I have the pleasure to invite over Alessandra Perazzelli. She has been an amazing woman. If I can say, she has an amazing persuader. So you are member of the supervisory board of the European Central Bank. You are deputy governor at the Bank of Italy, and you have been fighting for women empowerment, social tech, and impact finance at the same time. So give your message to the social business community today.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's a great honor and a pleasure. And, you know, some of us may ask themselves, what is a central banker? Coming to tell you, being on this stage, in fact, central banks are very, very instrumental because we make the rules and we make banks perform according to our rules. So it's extremely important that we embed into what we do every day some of the rules, some of the concepts and the ethics that you are proposing here and you have been working on for so long. So I look after banks in my country, which is Italy, and I look after banks at European level, and I look after technology applied to banking services, and this is one of the things that I wanted to bring to you here. The two words that for me are very, very relevant. One is digital inclusion. The other one is financial education. And this is particularly important as we see the rise of absolute poverty in the world and in this country. It's come to 10% of our total population. 5 million people in Italy right now are touching absolute poverty, and most of them are women, and most of them are mothers with young children. So my message here today is for those who look at technology, just understand what's in there, you know, how algorithms are built. And we need more women, you know, who study these things because they can bring the difference in building up those instruments. They're really running the world right now. They're running the way in which big tech are looking at the way they give us credit, they give us services. Banks are using them as well. So within my central bank, the Banca d'Italia, we have created teams that look after these things because we want to make sure that as we build a new economy based on technology, this doesn't bring further, you know, differences and further poverty to people. Sometimes, you know, if you happen to have the wrong zip code, and that is put into the algorithm that looks at you, at your credit ability towards bank, that's enough to keep you out of the system, having, for instance, access to credit at a bank. So this is very important. The other issue is financial education. We need to give education in the financial world to kids. We need to start from the very, very scratch. You know, financial education, even though it seems to be something so far away, is at the basis of our ability to exercise our rights in the democracies and in the world that we live in. Women in particular, especially those who have very limited financial resources, they need to know how to use their money. This is so important for their freedom. It's so important for the education of their children. It's so important for their health. And it's so important for the way in which they are active citizens. So this is my job, among other things, and I'm very happy to be here to witness this. Thank you so much. Have a great meeting.
Thank you, Alessandra. Thank you so much. You want to say something, Hans? Please. Huh?
We have now a Bangladeshi woman on stage.
Before, there's actually a message from a royal.
Oh,
Yes,
and which royal?
from Luxembourg.
Yeah.
She
And this
is a guest always at the summit. She couldn't come this time,
Not
unfortunately.
now.
But she sends her regards to the community, the Grand Duchess of Luxembourg.
Yeah, and before we watch this, because that's where I victims on their story, she went in the 90s to Bangladesh and visit Professor Yunus and all the friends, and she tested the Grameen ladies, the tech, you know, and she was one of the first user to be on the Grameen telephone, on the telephone ladies, and when she tested it out to do so, she fell completely in love, like also Queen Sophie from Spain. So they all was already there in the 90s in Bangladesh to observe the technology transformation for the poorest of the poorest. And now we are very happy and delighted to watch to the words of Grand Duchess Marie-Therese.
Yes.
Thank you.
Dear Professor Yunus, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, it gives me great pleasure to be invited to address the distinguished audience participating in this 12th edition of the Global Social Business Summit here in Turin. It has been 25 years since I had the great joy of meeting Professor Yunus, and I have never lost the sense of privilege I felt the first day I met such an extraordinary person. I am convinced that the visionary concept developed by Professor Yunus over recent decades offers a chance both for our generation and those to come to change society in a meaningful way by transforming ideas into actions. The ambition to solve social problems by developing sustainable business projects requires courage and creativity. It is a true commitment to those in need. Above all, I have learned from Professor Yunus the importance of listening with humility to the poorest, for me, those who know best, to hearing those concerned, who know better than anyone what they need. We met today in the context of worldwide humanitarian crisis that has stretched the existing social pacts to breaking point. Between the pandemic and its disastrous consequences in terms of health and lost economic opportunity, not to mention the tragedies of war such as we are witnessing in Afghanistan or in Ukraine, this summit, which is the major annual meeting of the large family of the social economy around Professor Yunus, is more than ever relevant. The war in Ukraine alone has generated widespread hunger and crippling inflation on a global scale. What happened last year in Afghanistan is creating hunger in the country and a poverty that it has not known for decades. In the last 2 years, extreme poverty has increased. This has not been the case, as I just said, for decades, and tragically, it's the poorest and most vulnerable who always suffer the most. Ladies and gentlemen, we need an additional global effort to help contain and reverse this tragedy. This is why today I would like to say to every one of you, together, We have the means to change tomorrow's world for the better. Our best example is undoubtedly that of Professor Yunus. When he launched his initiative in 1977, very few believed in it, and yet today it brings relief to tens of millions of people. With his approach, one problem, one solution, Professor Yunus has brightened the lives of 130 million people around the globe. He has achieved this through important partnerships in which Luxembourg, as a major banking center committed to inclusive finance, social business, and sustainable finance, has been and will continue to be actively involved. In this difficult worldwide context, Luxembourg remains a dynamic actor for change. In 2005, Luxembourg launched the European Microfinance Award to promote financial inclusion initiatives. I have had the honor of chairing the grand jury for several years, and I'm always struck by the excitement generated by this event. In 2006, a synergy between the government and the banking sector created LuxFlag, which supports the growth and Crédit Agricole Microfinance Foundation. And in 2022, I'm proud to share with you a new and innovative initiative. At a time when climate change, pandemics, and wars make the position of refugees a critical issue for our concern, the Grameen Creative Lab has just been incubated with BGL, BNP Paribas Bank, in partnership with Singa Luxembourg, an association that works to facilitate the inclusion of newcomers in Luxembourg, and the University of Luxembourg. This is the first inclusive social enterprise. This step forward was made possible by one of you, Jimmy Corbett, at the summit. These initiatives are very important to me, and I am extremely grateful to you all. Ladies and gentlemen, every step forward is welcome because the problems are huge and unfortunately increasing. They are no longer merely about economic, social, and environmental challenges. It is more generally about doing everything possible to achieve a future of justice and especially of peace. The summit we are opening today is therefore more than ever a global forum. I have been involved in social business myself for many years as a UNESCO Goodwill Ambassador, as eminent advocate for children at UNICEF, and in my commitment to women in Luxembourg and around the world with my association Stand, Speak, Rise Up. I'm deeply convinced that the integration of women in economic life will not only play a crucial role in the transition towards a more equitable society, but also in the creation of more resilient economies. Achieving the empowerment of all women and girls through social business and education is not only a fundamental right, it is the pillar on which rests a more just and peaceful, sustainable world. I know that this is one of the best ways to eradicate poverty and achieve the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, as Professor Yunus for years has been proving. These, in turn, are a powerful force of peace, as I have said. Dear Professor Yunus, thank you so much for this long-term and forever young commitment, and thank you for helping hundreds of thousands in need around the world to rise out of despair. Your extraordinary endeavor and commitment to the poorest of the poor has been an everlasting inspiration. The answer to poverty, having the intelligence, the humility, the generosity to trust and to lend to those who have nothing. It is also a great sign of intelligence. How wise, how beautiful, and how revolutionary. I have been amazed by your genius at turning dramatic and potentially critical situations into flourishing, positive opportunities and solutions. This approach is shared by both of us, and if I had to summarize in a few words the methodology that drives us both, I would emphasize this: the importance of going out to meet the people concerned and taking the time to listen, to be there for them. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, if there is one message I would like to give the younger generation here today, it is to promote holistic approaches, which should not only be about models and economic efficiency, far from there, but especially about exchange, understanding, creativity, imagination, to help other human beings get out of difficult situations. Because I am deeply convinced that when we help one single person
Schöne Nachricht.
Wow. Businesses that we incubated, Jeremy Corneille, one step forward. We can make a big applause. We don't take credit as Grameen Creative Lab. Jimmy did all on his own, but we're very proud, and you can listen to more stories like this tomorrow and to more messages like this powerful message. More challenges require huge step forwards, and in these technologies can help us a lot. And this is how we introduce our Tech for Good panel session. The first person that I would like to introduce you is somebody always from Italy. One thing that has to be accelerated is the upskilling. How can you upskill quick? How can you digitalize quick? And Talent Garden has been doing a lot in this sense. It has become the leading edutech center at European level. Davide Dattoli, the CEO, is here. Welcome on stage. So I know you have a train soon, so you can just quickly tell us how do you do it and how do you see this connection with social business and tech for good in what you're doing?
Absolutely. I really think that for the last 20 years, when we were thinking about technology, we were mainly thinking about amazing application only to share photos or inutility things. If I think about the technology that I dream for the next 20 years, I really believe that has to be way more social and way more inclusive. Because the technology during the last years has really changed our society, every business model of every corporation. And this is creating an impact. And in order to avoid a big social issue, we need to invest into education for digital skills. We need to really create a better thanks to the technology. And what we have done during the last years as Talent Garden is really try to train more than 25,000 people every year on social and digital technologies, because we believe that giving them the power for their future and for our future. We are very proud also to have partnered with the Youth Challenges program of this year, where we have 80 amazing entrepreneurs from all over the world that has been participated, and this afternoon we will have a better and more sustainable planet.
Thank you, Davide. Thank you so much. And we can't wait to start new initiatives also in Italy. Stay tuned. But
I think in particular for corporations to really empower and bring all of this to all their teams is something that we can build together to really bring to all the big corporations a knowledge about how to use technology, how to leverage technologies to make better social impact.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
So Hans, you gave me this big duty to honor one of the personalities from the Grameen delegation, so I hope I will do it in the right way. I am a new kid in the block, so I can't wait to meet you all a bit more in deep. But I know there is somebody who has been working on digitalizing microfinance as well, and has been working with the Grameen Telecom now, Grameen Communications, there you go. She's the managing director, Sultana Naznim. You're welcome. You may use here.
Hello, everybody. I'm from the Grameen delegation. My organization name is Grameen Communications. And in one word, I can tell we are the technology partner of the microcredit operation, new entrepreneur program operation, and information. And our main objective was information accessible to all in the very remote village to all our borrowers. So in that context, we started developing the systems. First, I was told to develop the system for the microcredit operation. You know, microcredit operation, it is very village level, and mainly the main operation, it is in the branch level. We called it branch. So first we built a microcredit software with a limited feature, and we started with that. And our company started in 1997, and from 1997, we started developing the system. So with limited feature, we developed a very distributed system up to the, it is about 2005, 6, 7, 8. And after that, we started to develop in the cloud base. And this year after that, first we started with a very limited resource, then we developed now it is in ERP, we call it ERP, with 6 modules. So one operation, if you want to do the operation, there are a lot of things, human resource involved, financial sections involved, and other things all are involved. So we developed that system with 6 modules. So if I give the data, what are you using? Now that system serving simply 7,500 branches and 20 million people in the very village level. At about the 2010, we focused to the all microcredit operation, not only the ground. The figure is 190 organization using, we are just simply serving the 190 organizations. And if I mention some data, that is every day we are just handling data, 15 million every day. Every day we are handling data 50 million. 15 million. And everyday data generation, it is about 50 megabytes. Till now, from 97 to now, we have the 50 terabyte data in our repository. So this is the figure. We are handling that. And now today, everybody telling about the data science, big data, we are handling that type of data. So this is one thing. And as I mentioned, we are the technology partner. Then, you know already, new entrepreneur program. And we develop another system for the new entrepreneur program. This is huge, and 100,000 new entrepreneurs in live. They are doing their operation. We include a system there, one SMS-based system, and we are doing the data handling this way. It is suppose 100% of SMS every day they send there with the business data. So we are getting all the data. If it is 60%, we thought that the Nobin is okay. But if it is below 40%, then because his business is at risk. And every day we are getting this data, and after the 7 days, we publish the report to the stakeholders. This is the way we are working. As time is limited, I just mentioned another system. This is the social business pedia. For that reason, we thought everything put in one place, it will be a knowledge hub. So we put all the together there, and you know all the events are happening. You can see, find even the social business summits, all agenda and everything, it is there. So I can tell you that more than business proposal, more than 100,000 Nobin proposal you can find there. So anybody around the world who want to do the social business, he can find the materials there. And all the reviews, all the papers, and all the information we put together in the social business. You know, during the COVID, there is a new agenda was the web lecture. And all the web lecture recording you can get from that. So these are the things in the technology part we have done there. And now, as technology is evolving, and it is every day, so we are doing our work based on the, and in connection to the global change and transform. This is we are doing in the Grameen Communication. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sultana. In the time? Yes. So please get the chance to mingle and get to know all of these amazing initiatives. I have three amazing speakers now to introduce, and we're going to finally sit on these chairs as well, because we have been standing, running, but we have an amazing stage that we need to use as well. So let me introduce on stage Kate Callott. Go ahead. She's the CEO of Mara Foundation, and they introduced you to me as a world-owned technologist, blockchain queen in Africa. Can I say this? I don't know. This is a lot of honor. And then I have Samira Khan. We met online, actually. She's from Microsoft, and she has been dealing with the Tech for Good and entrepreneurship programs and social entrepreneurship program inside the company. Welcome. And then I have Stefano Buscaglia. Stefano Buscaglia is the managing director of the Links Foundation. It's a foundation that deals with research on how to apply digitalization in the third sector. And we're just going to sit and enjoy this stage for one moment before lunch, because lunch is getting ready in the meantime, and we can have some more Tech for Good talks. I'm going to start with you, Kate. You have been working to improve access to technology in Africa, and you leverage on AI and blockchain technologies to do that. Can you share briefly with the audience, how do you do that?
Sure. So, as Mara, we are a digital financial ecosystem based on blockchain. Often when you hear about blockchain, you think straight about cryptocurrencies and this bubble that has been created by the global north. But actually, most of the applications of blockchain are at the edges. In countries, in places where there is no legacy financial infrastructure, places like Africa. So we took on the mandate to provide access to financial services to most of African population. And when we started this adventure, my co-founder and CEO had spent years in the Niger Delta trying to clean up this one of the most polluted places in the world by leveraging local communities and disbursing payment to them. And that's when he realized that we were lacking that basic financial infrastructure that we had to create as Mara. And when you start a startup and you create a foundation straight ahead, people look at you and think you're crazy, because why would you create a non-profit if you're starting a business? But actually, social impact has always been at the back of our mind, and everything that we've been doing, at the core of everything that we've been doing. So creating that foundation was for us a way to make sure that we would take on this mission to educate everybody and bring them alongside the road of this financial and digital revolution that we were starting on the continent, educating people around finances, strengthening financial resilience of everybody and marginalized communities, but also educating developers with technological tools that they can use to build the future of their communities, of their tribes, of our countries and our continent.
Thank you. That's amazing. So please welcome Kate also in the audience. Try to get more hints, because unfortunately, we're running out of time. But it's amazing what you're doing. Thank you so much for sharing. And Samira, how do you then apply all of these Tech for Good concepts into companies like Microsoft, and how can big tech companies can enter the social business model as well?
Yeah, thank you so much for including me on this panel about a very important topic. digital inclusion, access of technology for some of the most vulnerable communities has been on my mind when I was working at Salesforce. It's been on my mind at Microsoft. But it's been on my mind prior to that as well when I was studying technology transfer from developed countries to developing countries. It was a very unilateral conversation. And if we think about health and patient empowerment and people having access to their records, if we think about education and the numerous pathways that now exist to get educated online, if we think about people's identity and digital inclusion in that regard, and if we think about democratic voice and how youth in particular are using technology to organize, to speak out, such as with the Arab Spring, and if we believe that health is a right, if we believe that education is for all, if we believe that every person should have the ability to feed themselves and their families, and if we believe that every person deserves the protection of the state, and if we believe in democracy and the power of voice, then we absolutely must look at digital inclusion as a human right. And daily life is becoming increasingly intertwined with the digital economy. So where does that leave us? So Klaus Schwab has said something interesting about the corporation, that is not only responsible to shareholders, it should be responsible to a broader set of stakeholders. So where does that leave technology companies? Technology companies are uniquely responsible for a certain type of economic growth that is dependent on digital inclusion. So they have a responsibility to bring some of these vulnerable groups and harder to reach communities along. And not only is it a responsibility, but it is actually material to them as they think about the long term and their business as well. So it's very important, and in the interest of time, I'll go quickly. I think that there's already been strides made. If you look at the major technology companies and their philanthropy strategy, they're offering technology at a discounted rate. People are volunteering. They're also investing in skilling all over the world. But there is so much more to be done. If we look at solutions from the ground, we don't have a way to transparently access some of those. In many cases, there isn't a locus to support some of these social businesses. And we need a different type of financing. So technology companies need to be on this journey with communities. And one of the quotes that I've grounded my work in and myself in for many years is actually by Dr. Yunus. And the essence is basically that the poorest of us are sometimes the best innovators. And if that is the case, then the poorest are not beneficiaries, they are partners. And what makes a good partnership? Trust. Trust. Inclusion. They need to be in this room with us, not outside. And I think that's a very important point. And so I encourage us to think about what builds trust across communities. And for me personally, part of it is about empathy, but part of it is also about dignity. My life here is just as important as your life there.
Thank you. Thank you, Samira. And you're ready exactly. we have now, we've seen the point of view of the company. You said, Samira, that we need to invest more into these social businesses. And you created a foundation as well to gather more funds into the business. Then we have also research that is needed. It's needed to push digitalization as well, and be in support of NGOs, be in support of foundations, and companies also to cooperate as well. So what do you do at Links Foundation?
Yes, absolutely. First, thank you very much for having me here. Let me give you two numbers. First number is, they are from a survey from Deloitte, Italy, very serious survey. 80% of social impact business in Italy declare they don't have sufficient skills in technology. 17% declare they're ready to scale up or improve their impact with digitization. Impressive numbers, right? So what do? We are a research center, and we do research. We do publish papers. We do excellent research. But we also have opened this social tech lab, which helps us to bring technology into social impact businesses, because we do believe that scaling up those businesses is our duty, and it's absolutely essential to improve and expand the impact we want to do on this world, right? So what we did, and I'm here today to talk about a call that we did, a call for projects with grants at stake, with the two biggest bank foundations in Italy. We were scientific advisors, and we had as financiers Compagnia di San Paolo and Fondazione Cariplo. And those two bank foundations helped us, and we helped them, by the way, to create this big grant that was meant, it's called Evolutions, and it is meant specifically to bring digitization in a few axes, which is digital business, data-centered, data-based organizations, marketing and digital fundraising, and you name it, all those dimensions that are meant to improve and increase the impact of those foundations, of those social impact businesses. We had 200 applications. We selected 80 of those, and we're accompanying them with a network of 30 advisors, which are there to help those businesses to be stronger and to be more impactful with more span. That's how a scientific foundation is trying to bring into social impact business their knowledge in digital to have more impact.
Thank you. And are these grants also open only in Italy, in Europe, in the world?
Those grants are open in the northwest of Italy. So we are talking here about 30% basically of social business companies in Italy. So 4 regions in Italy, northwest.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And maybe one last question to Kate, since like you were very brief. And how do you see the contact with these, for example, these such grants in blockchain? How is the so to say, like, is it a florid space where there's grants coming into blockchain? How do you see it?
So blockchain technology is still a technology we have barely scratched the surface of. So like I mentioned, there is this perception that this technology is still very young and immature, but at the same time, we are starting to find real use cases on the ground, at the edges, in places like Africa. This is why we have decided to take on this mission. And today I'm extremely proud to say that we've provided access to financial services to more than 3.6 million people across many countries, Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, and we are pushing forward to this mission now. Coming to the question of grants, one of the things we pushed for the foundation, when I mentioned education around developers, is to matchmake this talent, this pool of young people. Africa has a population that is extremely young. This pool of young people, and upskill them with access to technology, providing them the tools, the platforms that they need, but also matchmaking them with problem statements that the community was facing. As an example, we took a few developers from Nigeria and Kenya into the Masai Mara to sit down with Masai communities and listen to their challenges. And we challenged those developers to build solutions that could help these Masai communities. And 3 of them are now incubating their startups. They are flourishing. They're getting into a global incubator program. So for us, it's really about taking this global platform that we have access to. Being on a stage like this today for us is exceptional, but also bringing those global resources to developers on the ground and enabling them to build future businesses that can solve challenges that are uniquely African.
Thank you. Well, congratulations. So thank you so much. And I apologize again, like if this did not maybe happen, like we were meant to do this. But Tech for Good, for us, as Tech Professor Yunus said, the world is going at a super fast pace. Technology can really make the change, can make the change for young people, can make the change for social business too. So I hope there's going to be a lot of conversations. This afternoon, our young challengers are presenting their Tech for Good social business pitches in the open terrace. So we go for a lunch, Hans. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. Wonderful. So, lunchtime. But how we do it?
Sorry again, guys.
So first of all, we need your help. So everyone have to sit down now. Can I ask the last row? Yes, all the people in the back. Can you sit down? Otherwise we can't serve you. Everyone else, there is a box under you. So first of all, you have to clean up your table now. There's an empty box under your table. And there's another box under your table. And you all have to prepare now your tisch table. So can I have the camera with me? So where's the camera? So let's have a look here. Giuseppe, you find it. So clean up the table. Okay, super. So you have to clean up everything on the table. Also on the Professor Yunus table, on the Lavazza table. So there is a box under you. Can be the camera with me and more light? Yes. So here we are. Can I help you? You have a box here under the table where everything is in. Here you see it. So, okay. Put the box on and prepare it like you have a table at home. Okay. Let me see. Can I have the camera? So, did you find everything under? So you have to prepare it. You did it already. So do it nicely, like you do it at home. Put everything right on order, and put everything what you not need under the table. Okay. So you're ready here. So put the dummies down like you have it at home. Put all the rubbish, make it a nice table for every one of you. Okay. And then put the box back. Okay. Cool. Get ready your table. Oh, this table looks extraordinary. The Grameen delegation did it very nice, Super. Maybe you can, all the things what you don't need under the table. Have a clean table. Okay. That looks great. Cool. Let's do it precisely, nicely. Fix it. Put all these things off the stage so you have a nice table. So, the cirque table looks beautiful. Number 5 looks beautiful. Number 4. So, wait a moment. So, can I go through? Oh, can you help this table of us to make it? Oh, later, can't. Help me. Yeah, you have so much time to make photos, but now prepare the table. This table doesn't look like really... Thorsten, can you help me to clean it up here? Make it nice. How is it, the Lavazza table? It looks good. So, yeah, shake a little bit. Anyway, it's good.